Yes, we give you all the glory. We worship you, O our Lord. You are worthy to be praised. You are Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. You are the first and the last. Mighty God, it is to you that we give all glory, honor, and praise. And we thank you for your love and your mercies this morning. We thank you for your kindness and your favor. I want to welcome again all our listeners from across the nations of the world. I want to welcome all our viewers from across the nations of the world. I am the host for the Morning Flow here on HGG Radio. We have a program set for you this morning, Balancing on Purpose with Minister Kevaughn Aiken. And I just had to jump on, because life is happening. And we had promised you that we would be having our program this morning. But, it is just fitting that we're seeing life happening because Minister Aiken called me not too long ago. And this is how important it is. We're showing you how we balance. And so today is his day off. And he was going to sit with us talking to us about balancing. But guess what? He's also the father of a brand new baby. And some things are happening. But I'm going to be talking to you for a few minutes with the hope that he's able to jump on sometime in the program. I am your host, Odette Thompson, again, and we're here talking about balancing on purpose. For those of our listeners that are listening on the HGG Radio app, if you want to jump on over to YouTube or to Facebook, you can do so. Jump over to, okay, I see him coming on. Oh my goodness, I am saved. I was going to wing it this morning and I was going to interview myself. I see him coming on and I'm saved. Oh, I'm so happy. Man, I'm so happy to see your face. All right, I'm going to add him to the stream here now. But we are having a wonderful time here in the program. You see, folks, this is what we talk about when we talk about balancing on purpose. You see, we understand what it is to have so many things juggling all at once. Mr. Kevaughn, welcome, sir.
Bless you, bless you, bless you. Hope all is well.
Yes, sir, all is well on my side. How is everything going on your side?
It's balanced, It's balanced now. It's been quite an eventful morning, I must say.
Mm-hmm.
It's been activity after activity, some of which we'll probably talk about off air. But I'm glad to be on today. And I'm excited to share on the topic balancing on purpose. So my whole family is here. I'm actually in the car, so I have my family in the back.
I think this is only fitting. See, people, we're seeing what balancing on purpose looks like in real life. This is live and in living color. This is what balancing on purpose looks like. All right. So, to all
Yeah.
our listeners from across the nations of the world, some of you may know who Minister Kevaughn Aiken is. Some of you may not know who he is. He is as I say, minister. He's a minister of religion. So he is a minister in our organization, that's NLCCI, New Life Community Church International. He's also the youth leader, the international youth director. So he's actually in charge of all the youths of our organization spanning many different countries. So, all right, so I'm listing them out. So he's a minister of religion. He's the international youth director for the entire organization. And we have quite a number of churches spanning quite a number of countries. All right. And he is a son, is a he is a husband. All right. He just mentioned that he has his family in the back. All right. And I know he is a father. He has an adorable son. Oh my goodness. Such a pleasant baby. I know maybe he'd look at me now and tell me he's not a baby. When I saw him, he was a baby. But I know he's a father of a brand new baby. So now he's a father of two beautiful children. All right, so that's what that's five, and then he's an engineer, right? He's an engineer, and I know that he loves fishing.
Yes.
Right? Like, look, people, this is seven. I don't know how many you can juggle seven different things all at once with 24 hours. But I just listed a few of the hats that Minister Kevaughn wears. And so, when you see a young individual wearing so many hats and doing a wonderful job at it, because guess what? You know what? With life happening, he could have called me and said that, he could have said to me, you know what, Pastor Odette? I am not able to make it. Stuff's happening right now. I'm not gonna be making it today on your program, and let us reschedule. But guess what? He did what he had to do, and he jumped on in the nick of time. And look, he's in his car, and he's still. This is what you call balancing people. All right, so
Oh.
I have talked a little bit about Minister Kevaughn, and I'm not gonna be hugging this interview. I want you to tell us who is Minister Kevaughn Aiken, for those who do not know you, sir.
Who is, come on, that's a great question. I mean, I think one of the things that I think defines me is my love for family and people. So I'm a man that loves God first. I love people in general. Uh, I'm an engineer by trade. I'm a chemical engineer that enjoys cooking. I enjoy fishing. I enjoy football, or we would say in America, soccer. There was actually a time when I thought that was going to be my career profession. Uh, but, things went another way. Um, and yeah, those are some of the key things. And when I talk about loving people, I love encouraging people and, being able to share the knowledge and the experience that I might gain over the years to help them progress and to accomplish different things. So I think that is something that I think defines me inside the household, just my love for people, my love for family, and even at work in any capacity. That is a consistent substrate is the love and the passion for people. So I think that's one of the things that has set me apart and makes me me.
Okay, awesome. All right, so we have that down pat. He loves people. And I think it's only fitting that you're the international youth director, because you have to love people to be dealing with the youths, right?
That's true. That's true.
All right, so we have that down. He loves people. So, all right, so I'm gonna ask you a few questions, and we're gonna get the listeners involved. I know I'm seeing persons already sending in messages. They're saying good morning, good afternoon to you. So they're greeting us already. We have a number of different platforms. All right, so I'm just jumping on to see what they're saying. Awesome. All right, so I want to again welcome all our listeners and all our viewers from across the different nations of the world. And before I go into the questions, we have the US of A, we have Canada, we have Germany, we have the UK, and we have Jamaica on right now. So yes, 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 Minister Kevaughn, we want to know how you're keeping everything balanced. All right. So my first question to you is, what inspires you?
What inspired? I think that's a question that is seasonal. In that different stages, I have different inspirations. I think now, since I have children, my family inspires me quite a bit, and they challenge me to accomplish more and to do more and to kind of set the bar and to set the standard. But a few years ago, before the children and the family was in the picture, um, my desire for change was something that inspired me quite a bit. So, being the first in my family to travel the route that I'm traveling, being an engineer, um, going to university for what I studied, that was something in and of itself that posed a lot of challenges. Um, but just the desire to be able to accomplish that and to be able to set that example for my cousins and such, that was something that inspired me quite a bit. Uh, So family now is one of the main drivers, and just having that desire to leave an impact. I think with the love for people, one of the things I love is to be able to be a contributor to the activation of individuals' purpose, right? So when you meet somebody and you're able to contribute, whether through conversation or whatever method it might be, to help them to accomplish potentials and their skills, that's something that drives me, that propels me, so I think that those are the things that inspires, that drives, that compels me.
Okay, awesome. So you have the love and the passion for people. You want to see persons in a better position and you want to inspire them to be bigger and better than where they are or who they are. Awesome. I'm loving it. When you find a young man that is looking beyond himself, you have to stop and look at that young individual. You have to stop and look because no, everybody's all about me, 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 what I want and the bag. I want the bag and it's my life and I'm living my best life and it's all about me. But I'm really liking what you're saying. You are looking beyond you. And you mentioned even your cousins wanting to inspire your cousins, wanting to inspire individuals and lives that you touch, that you come in contact with. That is something that is not common. I tell you it's not common with somebody your age. It's when they get to my
Uh,
age, then you start to think and say, "Oh, I want to impact the world." But, but
that's
I
true enough.
really pardon?
Say that's true. That's true.
Yes, when you see someone in your age range and you're saying that this is what you want to do, it is something that we have to stop and pay attention to. And I commend you for that. And I hope that there are many other young persons who are paying attention, recognizing that it is not only about you, but you have to look at the bigger picture. You have to look at how what you do impact others and the footprint that you leave. Somebody's going to walk in your steps because I'm
Right.
sure that you mentioned your cousins, and I'm sure that they're looking at you as like, okay, yeah, Kevaughn did this, and I'm sure that you have your younger cousins like, oh, and Kevaughn and Kevaughn and Kevaughn and Kevaughn, and it's because of how you're inspiring them. Awesome. All right, so what advice would you give to someone that is trying to find their passion? And this question comes in line with the fact that you are the international youth director, so, we often find the word passion being used with Christendom and ministry, right? But what advice would you give to someone that is trying to find their passion?
One thing that I've recognized is that when you have good mentors and good people in leadership capacity that has experience, oftentimes they can help you to find your passion, right? They'll be able to recognize some strengths that you might not notice the fullness of that ability, right? So let's say as a youth, you're young and you're willing to pick up the leadership responsibility. So you're willing to be the class monitor or the student council advisor, or there are different roles that you might aspire to take up when you're young, but it's difficult to recognize the potential that that desire has, right? So I think one way to help you identify your passion is working alongside or leaning alongside of your leadership, right? Specifically, within the church structure, right? Your mentors, your leaders, oftentimes they're able to recognize capacities that you have and how it could be applicable in areas that you're not yet familiar with. So that gives you an advantage because you're able to leverage their years of experience and knowledge and see how could I fit in the things that I do well. So that's one. The other thing is, self-awareness, right? Just think about where you invest your time. That's something that will tell you where your passions are. Now, sad to say, a lot of people end up in investing their time in social media and such, right? And that can give them a false reality of where their passions are. But for me, at one stage in my life, every time I had free time, I wanted to, be on the phone talking. My wife will tell you that, I'm a talker, right? I would try to find somebody to talk to and, find out what's going on in their lives and encourage them, right? And it was through that same vein that I recognize that that is something that I have a passion for. I have a passion to encourage and to uplift, right? So, just pause and look and assess where you're investing your time, and that will tell you where some of your natural abilities and passions are, right? There's some other stuff that I could touch on, like what do you love? What do you enjoy, right? What do you dream of or desire to accomplish, right? Not just for financial benefits, but just if you could do anything in your life and make a good income from it, right? Let's just put that in there just to take out the money aspect. What would you do? That oftentimes will highlight where your passions are. A lot of time we're afraid to go after our passions because our passions might not be that which is enough, right? Based on societal standards to sustain us financially. So therefore we end up living a life, doing a career that's not within our limits of our passion, right? But that's one way you can identify it by just pausing, recognizing where you put your time, and also just recognize the dreams that you have. You know, one last point, the fourth one that I heard a pastor shared with me a while back when I just joined Christendom when I got saved, and I was asking, how do I find out who I am? And he mentioned that the thing that annoys you the most is oftentimes something that you can be the catalyst for change for, right? So that's another way you can recognize your passion. Things that you care about, when it's not done at a certain standard, you are not pleased, right? And that's one way to recognize that there is a passion there for that thing. So those are my four points.
Okay, okay, awesome. You know, that one that you just listed, the last one, can I tell you, you're the second person that I'm hearing with that rationale, that when you find something that annoys you, then you can consider that as a passion. That's something that you want to fix. So yeah, I never actually thought of it, but you're the second person that actually second guest that I'm having on here that is
Oh,
saying
wow.
that know your passion. If there's something that annoys you, take a second look at it because it may just be calling you to fix the situation. So, people, we're talking to Minister Kevaughn Aiken, and he's joining us from Dallas, Texas. Is it Dallas?
Houston.
Houston, Houston, Texas. Houston. This is where the ships go up, eh? So where I know Houston from is like Houston, Houston, come in. All right, so he's joining us from Houston, Texas, and we're talking about being balanced on purpose. We're deliberately being balanced, and he just talked about how to find your passion for young or old, the things that you need to look out for when you're seeking to know who you are. And I love the fact that you said that when you were younger, you actually went to someone wanting to know, how do you find out who you really are? A lot of young persons, they walk this earth not knowing who they are. And so I want you to listen to what he's saying this morning. Seek advice. Don't just sit in your little corner and say to yourself, I'm just going to go this world by myself, because no man is an island. No man is an island. And so I love the fact that you actually sought advice and sought direction from persons that you thought that were more experienced. All right. So this question is a question I don't think I've asked this question yet. You're going to be the first person that I'm asking this question. All right. So many people believe that ministry is on Sunday. Ministry is on Sunday. All right. So, you're a minister of religion, and they see you come on Sunday all dolled up, and you come and maybe you're bringing the word, and they're thinking, yes, man, ministry is on Sunday. And they look at you and they say, yeah, I want to be a minister like Minister Kevaughn, because they see how you operate on a Sunday. I want you to talk to us about that. that viewpoint. Is ministry on Sunday? Talk to me about that.
Ministry is a lifestyle. Ministry is a lifestyle, right? I think in modern society, a lot of individuals have allowed ministry to be a Sunday affair, whereas throughout the week, it's business as usual, and then Sunday they go through the motions, right? But true worshipers, right, the word of God said, worship in spirit and in truth, right? So the quality of your service on a Sunday is going to be contingent on the quality of your lifestyle throughout the week, right? Um, Under the same topic of balancing on purpose, when the word of God and the whole, when I think about ministry, I don't necessarily think about ministry separate from a lifestyle, because it shouldn't be, right? The way I present myself on a Sunday shouldn't be because I'm in this capacity, right? I should be able to present myself as the authentic me, right? As opposed to presenting myself through the formality of the title or the capacity that one might operate in, right? And the only way you're going to be able to be your authentic self is if ministry becomes a lifestyle. What do I mean by ministry becoming a lifestyle? It means that what you preach is what you live. You live what you preach, right? So therefore, you're not just preaching a textual sermon, but you're preaching from the veins of experience, right? So like today is a good example of ministry being a lifestyle. There were so many things today to get one flustered and frustrated and, annoyed. And in the midst of it all, I'm just smiling and I'm just saying, man, today's going to be a good day. The fact that there's so much hiccups and setbacks, it just made me excited, right? And so ministry is definitely a lifestyle. And I think oftentimes we don't get the ability to see ministers in their normal functional capacity, right? So I am I'll preach on a Sunday, but then on the Monday I have to go to work. And on that Monday, I wear the hat as an engineer. But even though I'm operating in the capacity of an engineer, the word of God is still in me. And therefore, when the opportunities are there and the opportunities present themselves to connect with someone, to inspire someone, to, point someone in the direction of Christ, I allow the lifestyle of ministry to flow. There's a young man in Jamaica that I love the title for his ministry that he came up with, Jesus Lifestyle. Jesus Lifestyle, right? And I think it's so fitting. He's been under this topic for a long time, Jesus Lifestyle. But the first time I heard about it, I was like, wow, this is so fitting, because your efficiency to even balance on purpose is based on ministry or Jesus being a lifestyle and not just a category in a box, right? So ministry is definitely a lifestyle. There are times when I will have family time and we'll be there together, and someone will show up that is in need. And I give God thanks for my family, my wife, and their level of understanding that sometimes there are certain emergencies that might come up or certain situation that come up that might require you to shift hats in that moment, right? And if you only lock ministry into that Sunday, then there's a lot of people that you're locking out from connecting with Christ. I'll give you an example. There's a young man at my work. Me and him are great friends, and he's able to recognize, the distinction in my character, the difference, right? The things that makes me separate, and those things create a sense of trust and comfort, right? So he would come in my office and he would talk about different situations. Well, after we had my daughter, after Camille had Kiana, I was off work for about 2 months, and I heard that he wasn't going to work, so I reached out to him, right? While I'm on parent leave, right? I reached out to him. And when I reached out to him, he mentioned that he's having suicidal thoughts because he's having a lot of issues at home with his family. And, 2 years ago, his dad committed suicide, and then he only had his grandma, and his grandma passed, right? And it was right around that same season that no, he was going through a lot. And though I was off on parent leave, right? Though that was a weekday, not a Sunday, where the ministerial hat wasn't being worn, sometimes for you to balance with purpose, you have to be flexible to be able to accommodate certain needs like that, right? So, you know, we were able to stop by his house and encourage him and uplift him, right? And that was simply just being able to have a lifestyle of ministry. So I definitely don't think ministry is a Sunday thing, or should it be a Sunday thing, or else you limit the reach of Christ through you.
Awesome. I am loving it. I heard a word, flexible. You have to be flexible. And I love that you were off and it was family time and it was justified. You could say, listen, I have a brand new baby here. I'm focused here. But you took it upon yourself to check up on him. And I want to give you an applaud for that because not many persons, truth be known, not many persons would do it, you know? And so it is when you're living the lifestyle, it is a lifestyle, it is not just for show, it is the authentic you, right? And so, it is just commendable that you are flexible. And I love the fact that you said that we, which I'm suspecting you that we meant you and your wife, you and Camille, you both went there to see him. And so it is ministry in action, which is awesome. I want to commend you on that. I have a question though, because I hear 2 months of maternity, not maternity leave, parental leave.
Parent leave.
So you went off on 2 months. All right. So I want to know how you balance everything. I want to know how you do the husband because that has to have its own compartment. All right. And you are a dad to a toddler. You're a dad to a baby. All right. And you are the international minister for the youths. I want to know how do you balance it? We've talked about specific things, but I want to know how you get up in the morning, coffee, run. I want to know how do you balance it?
Yeah, so I'll give you a typical day, especially now, and then I'll kind of break it down how some of the different areas get managed. But typical morning, I wake up pretty early. And after devotion, I head out and I go to the gym because health is also a part of the balance, right? And that is strategically done so that I don't affect family time. So while the family is sleeping, I'm able to go to the gym early, then go to work. And then after work, once I come home, I change the hat and I take over the responsibilities of the kids. So usually I like to put them to bed, go through our typical night routine, right? Whether it's reading, whether it's singing, whatever needs to be done. Um, and then from there, we typically that's bedtime, right? So that's a typical day. Now there are other opportunities that might come up, right? For us, we are not as privileged as we used to be back in Florida, where we would have grandparents just around the corner. Um, but I give God thanks for our parents, right? That would come in sometime. They would they would watch the kids so that we'll be able to go out and eat, right? Or just go out on a little date, right? Because not having that community does affect how you balance all the areas, right? So that gives us the opportunity to be able to spend time with us. Sometimes it's after the kids fall asleep, we might watch a movie together. We might just sit down. Sometimes we just talk. I remember one night we were there, kids were sleeping, and we just lay down and we just there talking, right? And we're just talking about just life. And that is important because I think in the busyness of things, it's very easy to get lost into the 9 to 5 and just the management of the children. And, to be completely honest and frank, it is something that it's a muscle that is continually being developed because the dynamics of one's life now won't remain the same for the next 6 months, for the next 5 years, right? There are going to be things that comes in and things that comes out. And as you take things off the scale's balance will shift and you have to realign, right? So flexibility is essential there. Um, I have my days when I'm off from work, which would be Fridays. Typically, I'm off on a Friday, and that would be like every other week. I would spend time and I would do things around the house, or I would focus on certain ministerial responsibilities that are long-term planning, right? So I would focus on getting that done. And next thing that I've recognized is to recognize the downtime that we have that we oftentimes feel subconsciously. So I drive to work a 35-minute commute one way. So I drive 35 minutes to work and then I drive 35 minutes back home. During that time, a lot of time I spend this time to meditate or to allow, to be in thought concerning different things. So my brain is not just stagnant during that moment. I'm actually actively thinking as I drive, right? So if I know I have a lot of responsibilities and there's something I want to plan, I think through the steps that I need to do to make that happen, right? Or sometimes it might be a teaching that I have to do and I don't get the time to actually sit down for 2 3 hours and prep a sermon like I would when I just started. I would take that 35 minutes and I would think on that thought, right? So I think one of the things that has helped me is just to recognize the different opportunity regarding time and to be, again, flexible to adjust. Like before, I didn't wake up early. Now I'm up by 4:30 in the morning just because I don't want to affect my family time in the afternoon, but there are things that I need to do. So that means I need to go to bed earlier to be able to maintain rest so that health will be good, right? Um, so that the body will be good, so that the mind will be good. And then I need to ensure that I have time set apart so that the spirit will be good, right? So I feel like, I don't know if you've ever been to the circus and you see somebody juggling different things, and they start by juggling three things and, they get it good and then they throw something else in there and the person, they're shaking up a little bit and then they get back equilibrium and they keep on juggling, right? We have to consistently assess, what's on the scale or else you will begin living off balance. Have to consistently do a self-assessment and see, okay, what can I drop now? Because not everything is critical and urgent. Some things might be critical but not urgent, and therefore the time and the prioritization thereof needs to be allocated accordingly. So
That's it.
yeah, so sorry, I said so
You have me
that's
on the
that's
edge of
how.
my seat, You have me on the edge of my seat. I'm just listening here.
No, I mean, I could talk more about that critical and urgent, right? Because that's something that oftentimes we struggle with. We have a list of millions of things that I want to do. I want to start a business. I want to go back to school. Young people, I want to get married. I want to get my house. I want to get my car, right? And all of these things are different responsibilities. And that requires different focus, different level of planning, different prioritization, right? And you have to just pause and assess out of all of these, which one of these are critical and urgent, which means it's critical and now is the time to pursue that thing, right? Because we only get 24 hours. I wish I could add a little more, to a day, but that's it. But I assure you, if you pause and just assess where your time goes, 24 hours will seem like 36 because you'll begin to recognize opportunities that have just been there going on. Like at one point, I used to just play music or not play anything in the car and just drive to work casually. But now I find myself getting a lot more done by being intentional for those 35 minutes, right? So intentionality, I think, is another one that is big. Being intentional concerning what are you going to focus on at that time, right? Even though I'm flexible sometimes to accommodate, external demands like ministering being a lifestyle, there are times when I'm off from work and I turn off my phone, right? Or I put my phone on do not disturb because I just want that moment with my family. While I was off for the 2 months, I remember just being able to be around my son and just seeing him grow. And it impacted me because I began to recognize that I will never get this opportunity again. And that's something that's quite sobering, right? Because uh, sometimes you don't recognize how powerful those moments are now, right? And later on, you can't redeem it. You can't restore it. So that has affected my level of intentionality to where it's like I have everything scheduled, and even though it's scheduled, if it's not critical and urgent, I'll cut it just to accommodate that which is critical and urgent. So I think for you to stay balanced, you need a sense of flexibility. Think about somebody that's walking.
Mm-hmm.
For you to be balanced, you walk and you slip a little bit. If you're not flexible, you might fall. If you're flexible to catch yourself, you're able to readjust by changing the position of your body to accommodate for the dynamic of the fall and therefore preventing yourself from falling, right? So that's my 2 cents there.
Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. We're still hearing the word flexibility. So I think that this is the theme for this morning's discussion, flexibility. You have to be flexible and intentional when you want to be balanced on purpose. When you have many different hats wearing, you have to be intentional in what you do. And I love the fact that you have identified that you utilize the entire 24 hours of your day. Because can I tell you, before I used to be, not now, back then. I used to have 24 hours, and I was so consumed and I was so busy. And at the end of the day, I'm busy and I only did one thing. When I looked back for the entire day, it was just one thing. So now
Yeah.
I have to be intentional. So I agree with you 100%. You have to be intentional with what you do in your time. And so now I say to persons when they say, "Oh," when I say, "How was your day?" And they go, "Oh, it was such a busy day." And I said, "Well, I hope that it was also a productive day, because you can be busy and not productive." Awesome, awesome. So we're getting some nuggets here and we're taking away the word flexibility. All right. So, Minister Kevaughn, looking back over your life, what has been your biggest accomplishment?
Wow. At this point and where I am now, um, I think one of the things that I am proud about is, and I know this is not going to sound spiritual, but my career. Um, I had a lot of challenges just because I didn't have someone that went the way before me, and pretty much I had to figure it out as I progressed, right? And there were a lot of times I remember specifically. So just to give you a little bit of background, my dad passed when I was 3, so I grew up with my mom for majority of my youth, and then I had my stepdad there, which was great. Um, Migrated to the United States, and 2 years after high school, after I got my associate's degree, I went to university to get my chemical engineering degree, right? I remember the first exam that I had in one of my core classes. The exam was so brutal that I felt like I was going to fail, right? That's one of the testimonies that just every time when I'm in a situation where things get dismal and dim, I look back at that testimony. But I felt like I was going to fail, right? And I remember I went home that day and I went in my apartment, and I just went straight into my bed. The exam was about 11 a.m. We got out about 2. I went straight home and I went straight into my bed, and I was crying, right? The reason why I was crying is because prior to going to the university, that's 2 years after I had made the move to, commit my life to the Lord and, just change completely. I felt growth. I felt maturity. Before I left, I felt like I was maturing to a state spiritually, and I did not want to leave. I remember I was in the sanctuary praying, and I'm like, Lord, should I just pursue after, what should I do? Should I go should I go to college, or should I just stay and just, work within the church and grow in the church and, develop spiritually in the church? What should I do? And I remember the Lord said, I remember hearing this, I'm sending you to Gainesville. That's the city where my university is located, for people, not just for a degree. That was a thing that made me willing to make that leap, right? As I told you, my passion for people, my desire for people, right? So when I went to Gainesville, I had this desire that, this is how it's going to be with people and such and such. But at the same time, I cannot negate the fact that I have a career that I'm pursuing, because that was really my legal document to be in Gainesville, right? Being in college and all that. That exam brought me to the point where I felt like I was going to fail. I was going to fail academically. And the reason why that was so overwhelming was because there was a lot of people that invested in me. Financially, my family wasn't at the place where they had everything great, right? So there was a lot of finances that was invested in giving me this opportunity. And here I am, like the last ray of hope, right? To leave a certain type of lifestyle, to leave a certain type of socioeconomic status. And here I am about to fail. So I felt the weight of that responsibility on my shoulder. And because of that, I was in tears. I remember I was in that bed in the fetal position, just crying, because I'm like, everything started hitting me. This is when I started to think, man, my dad passed when I was a child, and now I don't even have him to run to. And, I entered into that space where everything felt heavy, right? And I remember I called my sister and I called my brother, and both my sister and my brother are older than me. But they always say I act like the big one. But they encouraged me, right? I remember them encouraging me and saying, oh, yeah, I understand. My sis was in college also, right? She was pursuing something else. And, she encouraged me and she said, bro, it's going to be fine. You didn't fail, such and such and such, right? From that moment, right? That was my first month in a city by myself for the first time. From that moment, I grew. I became a peer advisor for chemical engineering committee there at the university. So now I began to mentor and advise engineers. I began a representative and an advocate for the chemical engineering program. I became an engineering scholar for that same engineering program, the same thing and the same place where I thought I was going to fail at, right? I thought that I wouldn't be able to get internships or get any jobs or anything like that. I had over 4 different internships with Fortune 500 companies, right? Like all of that just reminds me that there are times when the situation is heavy, where it does get difficult, but being able to persevere and allowing your passion to continually propel you can drive you to overcome. That is one of my most proud accomplishments, because through that, I've met different churches, I've met different peoples, I've impacted different lives. That right there is something that I'm very proud about.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love it. And when you started talking about this, you said, it's not something on the Christendom side. And I had to smile. I had to smile because I'm loving the fact that I'm seeing that you're a very balanced individual. You can look at life for what it is and say that your biggest accomplishment is going through university, getting to the part where you're now an engineer. And after all of those hurdles, all of those obstacles, that day when you cried so much, there's nothing. Listen, we have to understand that we are tripart, right? And the physical man, you have accomplished something. And yes, I applaud you for it. Oftentimes, whenever persons are asked this question, they're thinking, oh man, I'm gonna think, yeah, man, they want something spiritual, and yeah, we're gonna go down that road. But I love the fact that you actually kept it real. You kept it real, and you brought me back to the scripture for this. full morning flow, which is 3 John 1 and verse 2. It says, Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in good health, even as thy soul prospereth. So it is a balance. It is a balance. And there we have it in scripture that the Lord doesn't only want us to have prosper on the soul side of things, but on the other side of things. So I'm loving the fact that you said that your one of your biggest accomplishments was getting to the point of where you are right now. All right. So little bit, we're coming down. We're coming down. We're coming down. All right. What are you not good at?
I think I'm good at singing. My wife might not agree, but I'm not good at singing. But outside of that, to be honest, I struggle with staying angry. I know it sounds crazy. I'm not trying to be like. I'm being honest. I struggle with being angry, right? Like, if I'm upset with someone, I have to talk to them. Like, I have to either confront them or let them know, hey, I I am bothered, I am perturbed by this situation, right? So the dynamics of my marriage, I am very outspoken and such, right? Camille can be, but most times she's reserved. And if there's anything that we disconnect with, I have to say something. I can't just be quiet. I can't just be cool. I can't fake it until I make it. I have to speak up. So I think outside of the fact that I don't think I'm the greatest singer. I can help myself, kind of like swimming. I can help myself. Um, I honestly think I struggle with being angry. My mom always joke about it and say, from your little, you're always trying to be the peacemaker. You're always being the peacemaker. And the truth is, especially people that I care about or people that I value, I struggle with being disconnected with them. You know, I have to talk my way through the problem, or we have to find some amends and resolve it some way. So,
Okay, I love that. And I think it goes back to the people person that you are. The fact that you like people. Some people don't like people. The fact that you like people. Can I tell sometimes, not now, back then, I had my time when I didn't like people. I was like, okay, I want to just be in this bubble and just be left alone. Right. But I think it goes back to that where you had mentioned earlier that you like people and you want to make this world a better place. You want to be impactful. And so there's no way that you can be impactful if you are harboring anger, if you're holding on to that bitterness, you can't be impactful. All right, so my last question to you today, it is, Minister Kevaughn, what is your favorite food?
that's the hardest question you ask me all day, Pass out. That's the hardest one. I'm a foodie at heart. It's hard to find a food that I don't like. Um, but if I had to choose, the food that I'm exploring a lot, and probably it's because I'm in Texas, is barbecue. Right? Yes, it's not the Jamaican typical, but I am exploring barbecue now. Like, I am doing briskets, I am doing ribs. I used to do jerk chicken every weekend just to finesse it, right? Because as I mentioned earlier, I enjoy cooking. But barbecue is the space that I am exploring a lot now regarding the different flavors and how to get the different consistency with the finish of the meat, right? Um, that I would say barbecue is one of my newfound loves. Can't choose a
Okay,
favorite.
okay. All right. So I didn't hear any oxtail. I never hear no curry chicken, curry goat. What else? Steamed fish. We hear people. He likes barbecuing. All right. So awesome. All right. So now you've moved from the fishing boat. You've moved from the boat to the grill. That's basically what you're saying. You moved from the boat to the grill. Okay, okay. So awesome, awesome. It was wonderful having you on today, Minister Kevaughn. And just to read some of the comments that were made earlier, Stephanie said, powerful examples that you've been given, Minister Kevaughn. And he also said that there's a lot of golden nuggets to reflect on. So that's coming from Stephanie Brown. She also said, um, mighty God, when things get hard, it will get better. All right. So we're thanking Stephanie for her comments here. I think she's watching us on YouTube. So I thank her for her comments this morning. All right. So before you go, Minister Kevin, I want you to just quickly give us um just give us a last taste. What would I say now? Just give us your just give us a last piece of advice. Yes. A last piece of advice before you go.
Yeah. The last piece of advice I would give, primarily for the young folks, but really it's applicable to everybody, is that this is gonna sound like typical, but I want you to believe this. You can become and be whoever you desire to be or God wants you to be. Right? There's a lot of time where we have the desire and the passion, and we can envision ourselves as this thing, as a doctor, as a lawyer, as a teacher, as a musician, as a minister, as a leader, whatever the envisionment is. But oftentimes not knowing how to get there deters us from pursuing that thing. And I just want to encourage everyone out there, if you don't know how to get there, at least make a first step. Don't put it on the shelf. Don't put it on the back burner. There's a lot of people that live their lives with a passion that they had from their childhood. And now they're in their 40s, their 50s, and now it's the first time they're actually going after that thing and they're loving it. That doesn't have to be you. That doesn't have to be you. You can be whoever you desire to be. Your mind is so powerful. The Lord has equipped you with so many tools that you're able to accomplish greatness. And that's something that, I've experienced. The other day I was driving with my friend. We were coming from lunch. We were classmates. And while we were driving in and we pulled into the campus, we're like, dude, can you believe that we're really engineers? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, it's kind of surreal. But we actually did it, right? Because we remember when we were talking about the journey and not knowing whether or not it was going to happen. And we're living the dream and the reality. I read a post this morning that I want to share. A friend of mine, she's a teacher. She's a professor at a university in Connecticut. And she posted a post and she said, you are your ancestors' dream. You are your ancestors' dream. And when I read that, I'm like, man, I wonder how many young men, young women dreamt about being in your shoes, the shoes that you're wearing right now, you know? And just to encourage you also, Pastor Odette, I mean, you being on the radio, you are your ancestors' dream also. There are young men and women that aspire to do what you're doing right now, and seeing you do it and how you do it so gracefully, it's encouraging, it's uplifting, it's empowering, right? So that would be my final few words.
Amen and amen. Can I tell you, I absolutely loved this interview and I loved your closing remarks. And it's only fitting because guess what? We're in Black History Month.
Amen.
We are in Black History Month. And so when you stop to think about what our ancestors could not do to where we are, they are smiling. They are smiling. And I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Minister Kevaughn, for being a guest with us this morning on Balancing with a Purpose. To all our listeners from across the nations, you've heard it here from Minister Kevaughn Aiken coming out of Houston, Texas, the barbecue king, the new barbecue king of the block. He is a father, he's a husband, he's a minister, he's an engineer. He is balancing on purpose. I want to thank you so much this morning for coming on And oh yes, I'm seeing, oh, everybody's typing no. Oh, everybody's typing no. Very interesting to know you're only human. And then I have that's from Andrea. I know she's in London. And then we have great piece of advice again from Stephanie and Nicole in Chicago. She said, beautiful interview, beautiful interview. So our guests, they're just loving the interview this morning. And we thank you so much, Minister Kevaughn, for coming on and for sharing your day. I know today is your day off, and I hear the kids in the background, so I really appreciate you taking the time out to be here with us on Balancing with a Purpose. And I hope that someone has gotten some nuggets from what you have been saying. And for those that are able to share this content, please share this content. It is on my YouTube page. So jump over to ODETHTHOMPSON, go over to YouTube, find my page on YouTube. It's on there. And if you are able to jump on and share the content, like and subscribe and comment. That's what they say, right? So jump over to YouTube and do that. It is just awesome. See some. Oh yes, so Minister David Rowe from London just sent me a private text. Awesome interview. So see, I told you we had so many persons. Let me tell you how many countries we still have listening. All right, so we have the United States, we have Canada, we have Germany, we have Jamaica, and we have the UK. All right, so these are the countries that are still on. So you know that for you to have them still on, you know that you were keeping them captivated. But again, I thank you this morning, and I will let you go to your family. And to all the listeners on HGG Radio, I want to thank you for staying tuned with us and for being so consistent with me on the show. That is the morning flow. I'm going to hop on over back to the radio. So I want you to continue listening to me on the morning flow. We still have, I think, a little bit under half an hour to go. We're having a wonderful time. And I thank you again, Minister Kevaughn. Awesome. It was good having you here with us this morning.